As we begin our athletic approach to the academics of chemistry, you'll discover that there are some important concepts related to athletics that we can use to learn and understand concepts related to chemistry. Specifically, we can use concepts related to football to learn about concepts related to the periodic table. So join us as we take you through winning the classroom game in the periodic table. First of all, we have our offensive players here, and our offensive players, or players in general, can be considered to be the athletic equivalent to the elements in a periodic table. On offense, we have 11 players. In the periodic table, we have 114 elements. So again, let's think of the players as representing an element conceptually to learn and understand about chemistry by relating it to athletics. If we look at our players, you can see we have our center, our quarterback, and 2 running backs. The players play specific positions, and when they're playing specific positions, they're lined up in specific positions or specific places. Our elements also are lined up in specific positions. The position in which our elements are lined up in are within the periodic table, and they can be located by groups. And if we look here, we notice that there are 18 groups in the periodic table, and the groups in the periodic table run in the vertical direction. There's also periods in a periodic table, and there are 7 periods in a periodic table, and the periods in the periodic table run in the horizontal direction. There's some important chemistry concepts that are related to the concepts of groups and periods that we'll learn and discover later about elements. For now, we just want you to know that the elements are arranged in groups, and the groups run in the vertical direction on the periodic table, and that there are 18 groups total, as well as periods, and there are 7 periods, and the periods run in the horizontal direction. The other thing we want you to know is just as our players play specific positions, for example the center and the quarterback, they are abbreviated. For example, the center position is often represented by the C, and the quarterback is just simply referred to as the QB position. Notice how our elements in the periodic table also are abbreviated, or they're represented by what are known as symbols, element symbols. For your purposes, you'll have to learn and understand as well as know the symbols as well as the name of the elements for the first 40 elements in the periodic table. So what we want you to understand is that these letters represent element symbols in the periodic table, and we'll show you a table later on with the complete name. For example, this O represents oxygen, N is nitrogen, and C is carbon. Later we'll learn and understand about element names and element symbols and how they've come about, but it's important to recognize that these letters represent symbols or abbreviations of element names, just as our players, center, C, quarterback, QB, have abbreviations for their positions. The other interesting concept that we can use from athletics to learn about chemistry is that there are lots of numbers associated with players. For example, our quarterback may be number 14 or number 11. Well, our elements also have several numbers associated with them. Specifically, they have what's known as the atomic number. They have the electron configuration as well as the atomic mass, and also something called the oxidation state. We'll learn more about these numbers as we proceed through these lessons, but we want you to understand that just as players have numbers associated with them, our elements also have numbers associated with them, and we'll look at those closer in an upcoming series. So, in summary, what we want you to know is that in athletics we have players. In chemistry, particularly in the periodic table, the elements are the equivalent of players in athletics. The players play specific positions. In chemistry, and particularly in the periodic table, the elements occupy specific positions. The players' positions can be represented by abbreviations, C for center, QB for quarterback, elements are also represented by specific symbols or abbreviation. Fe for iron, C for carbon. The players have numbers associated with them. Elements have numbers associated with them.